Hello and welcome to Social Media Fridays. So no, it's not. Jesus,
No, it's not, Tim.
it's all right. I'm semi-conscious. It's Dumb SEO Questions, episode 139. Each week we meet to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions Community on Google+. With us tonight we have Rob Mars, AdWords aficionado from the Netherlands. Rob can be found at marketbiz.nl, and that's marketbiz.nl. Masataki Wasa is webmaster of wasaweb.net, and he's I'll deal with that in a moment. Yes, and Tim Capper is an a conversion rate optimization specialist and an SEO. He's also based in the UK, as is Masataki. Masataki is a top contributor on the AdSense and the Google Plus Help community. Rob is a top contributor in the Dutch language in AdWords, search, and webmasters. And Tim is a rising star. I don't think he'll ever be a TC. And anyway, let's get on with our first question. All right. It is question on backlink source. Hello, it's from Pulkit Kurana. He asks, hello everyone, is there any way to find out the backlinks of a specific URL instead of a whole website? I've checked a hell of a lot of tools but failed to find anyone. So if you're aware of any tool, please share. Your help will be highly appreciated. Thank you.
Well, like with any tool, it's only as good as its crawl rate. So when you say you've checked all different sorts of tools, it's only as good as that tool and that crawl. So if it's not in your web, if you're obviously trying to find someone else's site that you don't have access to webmaster tools on, then there's things like SEMrush, Ahrefs, Majestic. But bear in mind that all of those will show you different results because all of them will have, all of them use robots, crawlers, little spiders like Google does. And if they haven't crawled a particular page where that particular link was on, then it's not going to register. So SEMrush might say there's 10 links on the page, Ahrefs might say there's 15, and Majestic might say there's 2. So tools are only as good as the crawlers, and they will all show you different ones. So use a variety of different tools to find links on particular pages, and you have to understand how all these tools work. And once you understand their limitations, then
Yeah.
If he's looking for backlinks to his own site, he can track it back in his analytics.
Yep. And of course, Google Webmaster Tools does give some as well. Or as they say in the classics, Google Search Console. All right, let's move on to the next. Arifa Rahman asks, is this a bad practice? If I 301 redirect more than 500 404 error pages to my home page? in the SEO Questions Community on Google Plus, in the comments, I suggested that Google Webmaster Tools will interpret those as soft 404s, and Arifa confirmed that. He's already got some listed. Tim Capper in the comments. Let me see. There it is. Tim Capper said, "I'll save you the trouble, Tim, and you can jump in after if you like." He said, "Why not create a 404 page specifically for those bad products, and on the page explain that you no longer stock this product and that these are similar products that they might like. This way, people understand what has happened to the product, and they can then carry on to the suggested products, go to the home, or leave. A better user experience all round."
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, you're either going to end up with 404s.
Great idea.
Yeah, and I'm not even a TC.
Who said that?
Me.
Look, Tim, I'm going to appoint you the TC of the SEO Questions Community. I'm going to put a page at the top. I'll get a page. I get Andy Wigglesworth to make us a nice graphic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were in a similar situation to this, where it was, except I don't know what genre he's in, but this was to do with nail polish, and a batch of nail polish which was heavily promoted, and it was in the press and blah blah blah, something to do with gel nails. Anyway, don't quite fully understand it, but there's one particular batch that came out in a new color which featured in Fashion Week and blah blah blah, and anyway, something went wrong with it, and I don't think it's set properly without a specific setter or something. Needless to say, basically the product was balked. It had to come off, and this is the way we dealt with it. We set up a specific 404 page for all of the different of this kind of gel product, and then explained what had gone wrong. We gave a kind of timeline when a new product would be in, as well as, you know, these are our other gel nail products, blah 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 blah. It worked really well because, of course, there were a lot of you know, mentions out there and links out there, etc., etc. And everyone that landed on the page, we didn't have everybody followed through to a different product. So you know, none of the press and all of that was built up at the time, you know, went to waste. It just gave them a nice, you know, bit of information, what's going on. We gave them a timeline. Obviously, in your case, it's not coming back, but we gave them a bit of timeline when this new product was coming back, etc., etc., and then redirected them to the next best possible product for them. And it worked very well, and you know, so yeah, you know, give it a bash.
Thank you, Tim. All right, Masataki Wasta informs me that this question, question 3, also question 6, question 10, and question 11 are all on the Google Phantom update. Is this a thing now? Is it Phantom? Is that a real thing, or it's something someone made up? All right. Arifa asks, how much do we know about the Google Phantom update? I have heard that this update will penalise informational and how-to content. The best SEO informational site, Moz, has lots of how-to content. Are these content? Those contents in the penalty?
As far as I understood, and obviously when they've called it Phantom, that's Moz. No, how-to stuff isn't in the. Essentially, what I've read and what I understand is this is pretty much kind of like a Panda rerun, with probably a little bit of a tweak here or there. Essentially, it's same again. It's weak content. I really don't. I haven't read or seen that it's to do with how-to content. And if it is, well, then my how-to content has not been affected. So,
as always, Google isn't filtering out a specific type of sites, but they are filtering out bad content, and most likely this time they looked a bit more to sites. That's more or less what I think has happened.
what sites did you say, Rob? It went a bit weird there for a second.
Sites that depend a lot on how-to stuff, because there's enormous duplicated content issues there. So I can well imagine that they concentrated a little bit more on that type of content.
Yeah, so
but
what you
it's
mean,
not
like
because it's how-to, it's because it's duplicated content.
so sites which are primarily made up of the entire site made up of how to do this, and a lot of them sometimes are actually one-liners, aren't they? Well, a paragraph.
Most of them are made for AdSense.
Yeah. Ehow is like, makes no rhyme or reason. Sometimes it's like, a really good in-depth thing, and the next minute, and the next one you click on is like 5 lines.
Yeah, it's a bit, how do I say that? A bit simple to think that Google will penalize informational and how-to content.
Yeah, you need to look at how the content was, how much of it and how it was placed on the site, and what else is on the site, and yeah.
Okay. All right, Arifa, I hope that proves useful to you. Also, there are 3 other questions on this very same subject in this in the SEO Questions community. You might like to follow up on those as well. On our run list, it's question 3, 6, 10, and 11. Niraj Kumar asks a question about, he said, I sometimes noticed this already, but why has Google chosen to show the results at the top for the first 2 words of a search query, which is a name, Shilpa Nagpal, and then then informing that other words are missing? Is it for user convenience? I think the answer to that is yes. And Masataki, I'm sure you know all about this one. No, sorry, I shouldn't have put you on the spot. You might not even be there.
Well, if you look at the way, obviously, search result works, Google's trying to provide, everything where they can find, obviously, those particular, for that particular query, and then of course it will start running thin. I mean, you've searched a very, very unique specific query, and of course then they start running out of answers halfway down, and then they start providing the next best match, the following best match, and the next best match, and then they tell you, for your own convenience, which one was missing. It's for your own convenience to make that informed decision about whether you want to click on it, whether you think that one is the right one, and they're telling you which one is potentially missing. I mean, they don't really want to give you just three results in a search result. Then they'd be like, oh shit, like what's Google only doing? They're only giving me 3. They're not giving me any more potential information. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just for the user's benefit. I
see a lot of it, and I think it's because over the years the Google index has become shallower and shallower. All right, moving on to the next. I see Federico Sasso made a great answer in the SEO Questions Community on Google+, and I thank Federico for the great work he does for us there. Next one would be question 5 on our run list, if it ever comes up. It's on internal and outgoing links. And AFSB, this was the post that I got myself into trouble with. AFSB is a friend of our community, Ben Balligad, and Ben's asked a number of questions here before. And he asks, what do you do with posts that have not gotten impressions from Google in a month or more? Is there some sort of test to see if they are against Google Webmaster Guidelines? I was thinking of putting internal links to them and outgoing links from them. If they still don't get impressions, I would delete them. Is there a better way? I've not been able to determine if and why these posts are not getting impressions. In some of them, there is an AdSense ad in the right-hand column which disappears. Strangely, though, even the AdSense ad on the right-hand column disappears, but there's another ad that remains. It's odd behaviour.
But if you write a blog post of which you yourself think is valuable information, why should you delete it if it's not getting impressions?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, isn't it? You have to consider the value of the articles for what they are. If they're valuable, they're valuable. If they're not, they're not. Regardless, as it were, of what they, or regardless of where they stand or how they stand, as regards the Webmaster Guidelines. You could argue that in most cases, useless articles are contrary to the Webmaster Guidelines. So I think in that sense, I think the question is not the right one to pose. If you say, okay, why aren't some of my good posts not getting impressions? That would be a question. Or even, why aren't some of my articles not getting impressions? That would be the questions that I would pose.
I agree with you.
So, we're all very agreeable tonight.
Yeah, so I think that's the problem. I think the starting points are different, and I think AFSB has to start to think in a slightly different way. And I think Jim, your to and fro with AFSB, I think didn't really, what would be the right word, gel together. If you like, the discussion didn't really proceed that well because you two were starting on a very different places and talking at different levels.
Well, I make no apology. I think that our role at SEO Questions is to provide a framework for of practices to follow for a long-term result, and in looking at the content, because I really believe that Google knows how to read this stuff. I mean, I'm not suggesting that Ben's articles are spun content, but they read like spun content, and they also lack an important part for an article, that they lack a punchline, or at least information. They lack an anchor of something useful in it. They're not offensive, but by being inoffensive, they don't bite down hard on any subject and deal with it specifically. And they're interspersed with very, very odd fitted in sentences, which are there, I imagine, to fit in a gratuitous anchor text link. And I think that sites that have content like that don't have a lot of hope. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, like any content, you have to ask, for whom is it useful? Why would anyone be interested in this? These kind of fundamental questions I think you have to ask yourself. I mean, so if you're saying this is, it's a repository of articles, isn't it? So they're on various topics.
Yeah, guest posts.
Yeah. So then you have to ask, okay, so for whom is it, why does the site exist? For whom does it exist? Does it serve the needs of people reading the articles? Or is it merely serving the writers of the articles? So I think it would help to ask those kind of questions, sort of more fundamental questions, if you like, rather than thinking about, okay, so these pages are not getting that many visits now. What should I do? Are they against the webmaster guidelines? If I place links? I think step back from that and ask the bigger questions, the more fundamental questions. I think that would be helpful, and I totally agree with what you said, Jim.
And the thing is, I've got posts from 2010 on my site, which I do make an effort to go through and update them every now and again, but some of them, because they're out of date now, in the sense that something on Google has completely changed and it's just pretty much irrelevant now. I mean, occasionally what I'll do is, if something's fundamentally changed and I've done an update, then I'll remove that page and 301 it to the new update. Or if it hasn't changed that much and I just update it, then I'll just update it. But it might not have been, it might not have been visited in 2-3 years. But if I still believe it has value to the user, then it stays on. If something which I published hasn't had a click in 5 years, it's completely gone in Google, so there's nothing that you can kind of like update to or redirect it to. Then, you know, if I'm going through them and nothing's happened in analytics in years, there's nothing that I can update on the actual post or redirect it to because it's totally defunct, then I just delete it. It's a 404, end of.
Yep. Okay, Ben, and look, I'm here with the best of intentions. I really did not wish to cause offence. I was thinking more of you than of me. Anyway, let's move on to the next on the Phantom. Well, this one we can answer quickly. Has the Google Phantom update hit any one of your sites? I really don't have any sites that have any serious traffic these days, but I haven't seen any drop on anything lately. Everything is on the up and up. How about you guys?
I had one site which took a little bit of a, I wouldn't say it was a hit. At the beginning of the month, things were looking a bit down in terms of the tracking. And I kind of looked into it thinking, has something gone wrong here? But as of last week, everything was back to normal. So no, none of my sites, but one site did look as if there was a possibility, but it's returned to normal now. So no.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, Gaia3 Mathasamy, that's about all we have on that answer, but there are 4 other questions. Question 3, question 6, number 10 and number 11 are all on the update and should be of interest to you. But if you go to the dumbseoquestions.com site, you'll see the numbered questions there. You might find another answer might give you more insight. All right, our next is from Ankit Goyal on the region name in the domain name. He placed a poll. It's his second poll on the SEO Questions Community. He said, having the region name in the domain name, does that help to improve the ranking locally? Does the domain name still have some value for local SEO? Fortunately, we've got a local SEO expert here tonight. 3 of them.
If you happen to have the region that you're serving in your domain name, benefit you. I'm not talking like from page 2 to position 1, but it does hold a little bit of weight into it. Of course, you need to look at things like obviously proper title, obviously have your region in your title, regions, regional landing pages for cities within that specific region. But yes, if you happen to have it in your domain name, I'm not saying it's like some massive like secret ranking mix, but if it happens to be in the domain name, yes, it is of benefit. Would I go and change my entire site to a domain just so I can squeeze the region into it? No.
I was looking at Google's targeting, and I must have another look at it, but I only thought about it later. But Google is now suggesting when you're searching, that to improve targeting, to add the city name, like if you're searching for pizza in Naples, you would search for Pizza Naples. I thought we'd gotten used to letting Google geo-target by itself, but maybe that's getting less and less effective. All right, let's move on to the next. Question 8, I feel for Hardiel Singh, who has a hacked site. He said, we are facing some hacking issues with the website newyorkcollege.edu. It's a nice site too, by the way. In Google search results, it's coming up for the home page with a message, this site may be hacked. Earlier, also, we have cleaned the website and this message was removed, but now again the same message is coming up in Google search results. We've also found some unknown links generated for the website after the home page. I suppose those links might indicate what type of hack that it is too. If they say drugs or so on, you could guess that it was the pharma hack. When we check the case version in Google, it shows some other site. Is there any tool to check what exactly is the issue with the website, as Google Webmaster Tools is not providing any details of the hacking? If it shows some other site, that's more than likely because the hacked pages are using the referrer to serve a different page to Google than they're serving to you. So you'd use a web sniffer and use Googlebot as the user agent to check if that was happening. The other thing you could do with Google Webmaster Tools is fetch as Googlebot. Just go through your pages, fetch as Googlebot, and see and use the preview and see what it brings up. Anybody else? Just waiting to see if anybody else besides me answered him. Oh yes, Dave Elliott, who does great work on our SEO Questions Community through the week, said to run it through sitecheck.security.net. Unfortunately, that check on security doesn't give any details. All right, moving on to the next. M. Stroz wants to know about the best SEO practice. I hope he's come to the right place. He said, hello, I'm new to Google Plus and starting to do social media and SEO. What are the best websites I can go to for current information about best SEO practices? In the SEO Questions Community on Google Plus, Gary, the SEO guru, said Moz and Search Engine Journal. Johnny Bass said, he said, I agree with Gary and also follow SEO by the Sea from Bill Slawski, SEO Workers, who are a cluey bunch of guys, Majestic SEO, and David Harry's SEO Training JoJo, another cluey bunch of guys. Dave Elliott said other blogs that have not been mentioned, and I think he's exactly right. He said Blind 5-Year-Old, Conversion Excel, Dijon SEO, and Quicksprout. He said, I'd also highly recommend following all the people mentioned and setting up an RSS feed via Twitter Times to get all the blogs delivered into a reader much easier. Does that just about cover them all, guys? SEO best practices.
Well, you should read Barry Schwartz also.
Barry Schwartz, exactly. What do we have to do to get Barry Schwartz now that there's no help desk hangouts? How are we going to entice Barry to come and join us?
Invite him.
Mm-hmm. Well, you seem to have a lot of influence there, Rob.
I'll try. I'll make a note.
Thank you. All right. All right, let's move on to the next. I hope that's enough for you, M. Stroz. Also, Google's SEO guide. It's acquired a lot of polish over the years, and I think it's a great place to start if you're looking to find best practices. I'd get a grounding there first, and then get the polish from the others. Moving on to the next, another one on the Phantom update, and this one's from Arafur Rahman. He said maybe this site is not badly affected by Phantom. What do you think? I don't know what he means. I had a look at this particular, because if you look closely at the top right-hand side of that image, you can see the website that it's that data is coming from. But that looks completely normal, that graph, and it certainly hasn't been affected by anything. Any comment before we move on? Recording that as a no. And okay, so now we have one from Arithmol TP. Arithmol said, what is the Phantom update? Brian Smith said, not a ton of info yet, but this is at least a start, and points to a Search Engine Journal article. The link you can find on the SEO Questions Community in Google+. Somebody with an elevator statement for Arithmol?
It's quality like Panda again, but of course not entirely sure exactly if it went after any specific things, but it was a quality sort of a tweak on quality.
Okay. Moving on to our last question for the night. It's a question from Shelja Gupta, who asks, hello everybody, can anyone explain the drawbacks of a duplicate content third-party blog? So what are they doing there? Are they scraping the blog of somebody else and publishing it?
I don't see any benefit for anyone. You know, what's going to happen is one of two things. If the site that it had its content copied verbatim onto this third-party site, if the copied site was new, it didn't have much authority or anything like this, then the third-party site that copied it, if it's been around for a while, would probably have it appearing, you know, for that search of that article appearing first, or if, for example, it was copied onto a LinkedIn, you know, post or Facebook or whatever. But ultimately, what's going to happen? I mean, there's no benefit to anyone. Ultimately, what's going to happen is Google will filter out the search results, you know, all but one of these duplicated articles. They'll decide which one is generally the original, or, you know, in that respect, and they will try and show one of those articles. It will try and filter out the others, but you know, it happens, it doesn't happen. They get it right, sometimes they don't get it quite right. But yeah, you know, I mean, there is no benefit, and in the long run, it's not going to do either site any favors.
Am I the only person who's thoroughly confused? Because in the comments it says, how can we know that content of our third-party blog is duplicate or not? I mean, if it's a third-party blog, then it's not yours. It's a first-party blog. Right? So what does our third-party blog, what does it mean? Does it mean that the content is taken from another place and then essentially a collection of articles sourced from other places? I'm not 100% sure. And if that were the case, then by definition, it necessarily means they're duplicates.
Yep.
So I have no idea, to be honest.
I'm not quite sure what the actual context of it was, and I answered a question, and then the question came back like, my English isn't very good, please explain. It was like, whoa. So
there are two possibilities, right? One is that he is the actual content creator, content owner, who is essentially posting it, mirroring it at other places, so that, you know, so it's kind of syndication to a certain extent. So you have your own content that's been published not only on your place, but on third-party blogs, so other people's blogs. That may be one way to make sense of it. The alternative is to think that he has a site on which he has other people's content. Both situations can be problematic if not done properly. And of course, it's far more serious if you're taking other people's content, especially if you don't have permission to do so. Then, you know, you're in big trouble. And that wouldn't be a search engine issue; it would be a legal issue, and your site could get sunk essentially by someone submitting a DMCA.
Yep. All right, have we covered this one? Okay, recording that as a yes. Well, now we've done it again, guys. We've answered all of the questions asked on the SEO Questions Community on Google Plus this week. And now we get into our news roundup, which has been heavily populated by dear Michelle Dear. And we've been sent homework to read up and answer them. So I hope you guys have done your homework. All right, the first one was a survey on search engine land, or it's a survey request. Every 2 years, Search Engine Land updates our periodic table of SEO success factors. It's that time again, and we're inviting our readers to help us with the process. I won't read any more, but does anyone want to comment on this article?
Yeah, nice and handy overview.
Sorry, Rob, missed that.
I said it's a nice and handy overview. Nothing more, nothing less.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to the next one. And did anyone read Confessions of a Google Spammer on inbound.org today?
No, sorry, I didn't.
I did, and the first commenter was Rand Fishkin. I mean, basically, somebody by the name of, I think it was Jay Deutz, built a private blog network and set up a feed on, built up a reputation on Warrior Forum and somewhere else, and sold links. Of course, that was the private blog network that was tackled by Google last year, back in the days of Matt Cutts. What would we call that before MC? And of course, selling links is only good when they're working. If they actually start hurting you, the market will soon drop off. So it's sort of a frank confession by a guy who was clearly pushing it, and now he's seen the light and he's going to be a marketer. Well, I don't know. From what I know of Google, whatever he does will turn to dust. It's not much good coming out with a mea culpa. I'd say whatever websites he builds from now on, and his children's sites and those of his children's children will probably turn to dust.
I think that's probably a slight exaggeration, Jim.
It's somewhere near the mark, Jim.
Jesus.
I will say this, that on my comment, one of our viewers dropped off, but anyway, he's come back. If you're watching us, I thank you very, very much. We appreciate your participation. All right, guys, I commend this article to you. I think you should read it, and not because I think Mr. Deutz is any great shakes, but it's just an interesting expose or self expose. All right, it's worth a look. And here's number 15 on your run list on image identification search engine. It's titled. And Michelle Deere said, "I do love me some Wolfram Alpha. Their image reverse search is pretty cool in terms of how they are using it. Not really SEO, but it is search and it is cool, and I thought you guys might like it." Well, how about it, guys? Do you like it?
What, the Wolfram Alpha?
Yeah, the image reverse search.
Oh shit! No, I haven't seen it, mate. I like Wolfram Alpha, but sometimes the UK information is a bit weak on the ground. no, I haven't seen the image reverse search yet.
Okay, can I get a comment from anybody else?
It looks quite neat. Haven't tested, so I can't really say how accurate it is. I'm just using it now and uploading a photograph to see if it... well, it identified a picture of a deer as an antelope, which is close enough.
All right.
I wonder if it'll upload an image of me, if it'll identify me as an illegal alien. This is an immigrant. Call your...
All right, number 16 on our run list is City Search has been gobbled up by Yext. He said, in case you add your people to City Search for local listings for finding local businesses too, now they have to pay more for the privilege of being there by registering through Yext instead of directly through City Search. It looks like Barry Schwartz tried it out too. He's published an article. The link to it can be seen on the SEO News Community on Google+. Phil Rozek, oh, that was the article. Okay. Any comments on this? It's really a US-centric article, isn't it? This is when we need Michelle Deer. Where are you when we need you, Michelle? Weathering a storm, apparently, Tim.
Yeah, in a wellies, mate.
Americans, you know, all that can be said is they're not Australians.
Yeah, they're not South Africans either, mate.
All right, now on with the next, and it's and now this is your specialty, Tim. Google My Business bulk locations redesigned. The new design promises to offer better management of your locations and publish updates more quickly across Google, according to Google.
Yeah, I mean, it still looks, you know, it's neater, it's clearer to see all your locations. It looks good. However, it's still a little buggy. You know, you still can't really edit it too easily, and when errors pop up, you still need to sometimes actually edit the individual page individually rather than being able to manage it through the editor. So although it's a nice feature at the minute, they still need to, you know, work through some of the bugs.
Fair enough. All right. Any other comments? No. You certainly know your stuff, Tim. I just don't know why you're not a top contributor already.
I don't know, mate.
All SSL secrets are as equal when it comes to ranking purposes. Gary Ellis was at SMX in Sydney recently. He made a statement that Google does in fact consider all SSL certificates as equal when it comes to ranking purposes. Comments?
Well, my comment on that would be, are they really clearly defining them as equal? Or is the SSL such a minute, tiny little ranking factor that Google doesn't even really give a damn? And by that, you've kind of jumped to the conclusion that, well, if I've got some super duper mega SSL certificate versus, you know, a free one, and they're both sitting there, yeah, I really don't think that an SSL certificate or SSL in itself is a major ranking factor.
We had some great arguments on that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Especially in the green room.
Yeah, I mean, I still haven't moved my static. Any static site that is not ecom, I haven't bothered with. Any site that's ecom, it just makes logical sense anyway, so that's fine. But I've never recommended any clients with just static sites to move across, and I haven't bothered moving across, and I have not seen any untoward mishaps.
Yep. All right. I tell you, Michelle D is going to give us a bollocking for not covering all of these in a deeper fashion. Anyway, bounce rate analytics not used in Google's search ranking by the SEM post. Despite the tweet, however, many believe that Google tracks bounce rate, not through analytics, by using data that shows when a searcher clicks through to a site and then clicks to another result in that same set of search results in a very short period of time, especially since Google does track those clicks. I think I totally agree. I'm sure they do.
Well, I disagree, because they don't check the bounce rate. They should go into your analytics to get that bounce rate.
No, I'm not suggesting they get it from analytics, but they do have it from the search results page itself, because every exit from
the bounce rate, but they could use and will use the dwell time, the time, relatively speaking, that somebody's coming back from a website, but not the bounce rate, because you can find whatever you want on that page that's the whole idea, that Google gives you the right page immediately, and then you don't have to click through the site. So the bounce rate doesn't say anything.
Yeah, but you're saying that Google uses analytics for the dwell time.
No, I'm saying that that Google is using their own information to see whether the dwell time is not too short for the type of page.
Of course, Google's got other sources besides redirecting their own traffic and logging it from the search engine results page. Google Fiber is an ISP, and of course from that that would be just a huge source of data for them to monitor user behavior.
Yeah, they do monitor user behavior, and they do use click-through rates, and but they don't get it from your analytics, and they don't use the bounce rate, because the bounce rate is not a set of data that you should use to see whether somebody found the right page. Because if he found the right page, he will bounce.
Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on from number 19 to the next. Bing is testing a new site search. Okay, so they've put a text box in search results. That's how Bing is really going from strength to strength. Of course, the thing that beats them is user habits. But if they were to introduce, well, it'd be interesting to see how their new browser turns out. Apparently, that's a quantum leap away from Internet Explorer. But if that gathers hearts and minds, and they make extensions up that could search on Bing or optionally repeat the search on Google and on other sites. If they could get the hearts and minds, Google might get a big punishing. User habits.
I really like what Bing's done with the business page, where you can actually call straight through to the business. I just find that at the minute, Google My Business seems to, I don't know what game they're playing. They don't seem to be thinking about an actual business and what an actual business needs.
Have they made you a TC yet?
No, mate. I mean, the Hangout chat that comes and goes in the knowledge graph, well, that's just freaking useless. Why can't you click and phone direct? You can in mobile, but things like this. Why is it so difficult from maps to click through to see the business page? Why are they trying to bring in these stupid third-party sites? A business doesn't want that or need that. A business should be able to say, hey Google, this is my menu page, or this is my contact page, or this is my, give me some brief instruction on how to mark it up in HTML if that's what you want to see, or whatever the case, but let me tell you which is my menu page. I don't want to send a customer off to some third-party site to go and read my menu, which is on my site. They've become, I don't know, literally, quite honestly, when they make a decision like that, you kind of think, Jesus Lord, who is actually advising these people? How do they potentially even come up with it to think that that is what a business would want to see?
Exactly.
I don't know. I would assume that Google making a couple of billion a year would have some fair understanding of business, but it seems not.
Yeah, and they seem to be in siege mode. They don't want to. They don't want to listen these days.
The thing is, and look. I mean, I love Google My Business. I absolutely do. I find it fascinating. I love it. Blah blah blah. But the problem here is with the rate of knots that Bing is moving at, and with the users with the products and the things that they tweak and they roll out on their Bing Maps and on the Bing business pages, they are actually providing a much more a better service to a business, and presenting the business's services in a better light, whereas Google is just kind of like flopping and flipping and flouncing around. And Google My Business is what drives Google Plus. That is like the single biggest, I would say, reason that people actually get onto Google Plus is purely for the business page and the visibility and the branding that it provides to a business. But now you're kind of like not showing the business's product. You're saying, right, well, if you want to see it, you've got to go to this third-party site, and then maybe, luckily, if that third-party site is any decent, it'll redirect you back. It's like the user experience is just non-existent. It's going out the window at a rate of knots, at the same rate of knots that Bing is actually increasing their user experience for businesses and people that want to find out what their business is doing. It's kind of like bizarre. It's like if you take a search result, I can see the website in the search result. Okay, I can see it there. You know, fish and chips. Come and buy my fish and chips. You know, blah blah blah. www.fishandchips.com. Right. I want to click on that. I'm clicking on it, but it keeps taking me to another website. That is what essentially Google My Business is trying to do. It's like it makes no freaking sense. The user experience is just shot to hell.
Mm. You know, anyway. Tim, I know two blokes that'll never be top contributors.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, you know, you can't be honest. Well, no, I shouldn't say that because Rob is honest. Rob is as straight as his eye. We'll see. All right, Bing is showing the most recent Facebook post in knowledge graphs. Bing teamed up with, chummed up with Facebook. I tell you what, you know, if Bing gets very close to Facebook, Google, and it's also said in this article, it is interesting that Bing is giving this prominent placement to Facebook, especially considering Bing and Twitter have a deal, and Bing could just as easily be placing tweets in that spot. Yeah, but I mean, Facebook and Twitter are chalk and cheese. It wouldn't worry Twitter at all to see the Facebook there, and what's to stop Bing putting both Facebook and Twitter in that spot. But yes, you know, look, I think well, we're not seeing stats of drops. Well, we're seeing stats of drops, but that's just transitional from desktop to mobile. But I think it won't be long before Bing is taking big heaps of market share away from, you know, user habit away from Google. And you and me, we're both Google fanboys, and they won't make us top contributors. It just doesn't figure. Doesn't figure. Anyway. Right. Any comments on this Facebook deal?
No, I didn't go on Facebook.
Okay, moving right along. I think we should get onto Facebook, though, mate. I'm the same. I'm a recovering Facebook user. I've been clean for something like 15 months, but I think I'll have to go back.
Whoa, I don't think I could handle it. It's just it's messy. I don't like it.
I can type LOL with the best of them. All right, Michelle Deere has posted another one. Can Google outsell Amazon and eBay? Tim Capper says no. There's so much about the language of this article that I want to comment on, but that's not really the point of the article.
Look, it's two different. Well, I was going to say two. It's three different kind of niche and products. Yeah. I don't, you know, if I'm searching for a particular product that I want new and I want at the best possible price, I won't even search. I'll go straight to Amazon because I know that that's their particular deal. If you're going to sell on Amazon, it has to be the best price offered. So there's no point me even searching it. So if I want something new and Amazon hasn't got it, then I might go and do a Google search. If I want, well, I don't go to eBay. The missus, my missus does. She's always on the freaking thing. So I think it's three different things what a user wants, you know. And I think depending on what that user wants, will go directly to that site. I don't go to Google to go to Amazon. I go straight to Amazon, search what I'm looking for. if that has the price, I know that that is going to be the best possible price. I do not need to go and search anywhere else. If they don't have that product, then I will go and use Google for a search. So I think it's three different things. And it's, yeah, you know, three different products, three different user base, on depending on what people want. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I once used the Google search for flights. It seemed to work out all right, you know. I don't know. I guess it's how they shift people to it, how nicely it looks, how it performs. I don't know. But for example, I wouldn't be using it if I wanted a product. Like I said, I would be straight at Amazon and I would miss out the search. Obviously, if they didn't have it, I would do the search, and then my little shopping, you know, shop with Google would pop up, and then I would do the search in there, and, you know, it may return a result. So I think it all depends on the user and where they're going to go. But yeah, we'll see. Jim, you around? What's going on, mate?
Tim, I'm so sorry. I've just been prattling on for so long, you would not believe. I came in just after you, but I was on mute. Damn. Dear me. Okay. All right. So I didn't even read out question 23, did I, on the air? It was just dead air. Oh, of course, they had you to look at, Tim. Well, Google has, after more follow-up this week, the company told Search Engine Land that while no spam-related update had happened, there were changes to its core ranking algorithm in terms of how it processes quality signals. Actually, it sounded better the second time around. Yeah, look, I don't think you know, I hope that they've figured out how to deal with low quality sites better, and it can only be for the better, because there's just, I mean, we're talking about that low quality site earlier, Tim, and I know that you agree, because in a previous question a few weeks ago, you mentioned exactly the same site and pointed out its low quality. Anyway, let's move on from this one. A total mess up because me not forgetting to unmute the mic. And of course, Bing is now releasing a new mobile ranking algorithm. So whatever Bing does, whatever Google's doing, Bing is doing. It won't be long before whatever Bing does, Google will do, I guess. All right. Any comments on this one? And the next, Michelle, dear, how many times? Actually, she said, I'm falling down the job. I thought I'd put this one out. So Bing is going to do what Google did, but roll it out slowly. We actually did cover that. That was the previous item. And that's it. We're finished for the evening. If you're still watching us, I thank you and invite you to join us in the green room. I'll put a link in this Hangouts post on the SEO Questions Community on Google+, and I'll put a link for you to join the Hangout. We won't be on the air, but you're more than welcome to join us. We thank you for your participation. Your watching, your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile, and for that